Hello, I am Minju Kim from UC San Diego, and today I'll be presenting on a project with Dr. Adina Shatner on gesture production and theory of mind. In everyday conversation, we use theory of mind skills for successful communication. Effective communication requires reasoning about mental states of others, selecting which information the other person needs. Even children from young age understand the concept of theory of mind, but their performance in speech has shown mixed results. Along with speech, people use spontaneous gestures to resolve ambiguity in referential communication, producing more gestures when the listener needs more information. They can also flexibly switch what to be gestures across multiple listeners. Then, what happens in context without spoken language? When there is no speech, silent gestures carry the full burden of communication, just like how home signs are used by deaf children of hearing parents. Hearing people can successfully describe events when silent gestures are the only modality of communication. Referential communication skills have been much studied with the presence of speech, but not as much with silent gestures. Then, when communicating through silent gestures, do people use their mind to produce effective referential communication as they do in spoken language? In this study, we asked whether people effectively tailor their silent gestures to communicate with their partners, taking into account what the other person needs to know. We hope to use our adult version of the study to provide a foundation for future work with children. In this study, 25 pairs of adults were invited to our lab to play a silent two-item reference game as a pair, one as a gesture and another as a responder. This is an example trial for the gesture. The goal of the gesture was to use their hands to successfully communicate the target object under the red arrow to the responder who could not see the red arrow. As our stimuli, we had 8 objects made from 3 features: pattern, shape, and size. Then we combined the 2 objects to form a pair with a target and a non-target. Between the object pairs, we manipulated the relevance of the feature. That is, each pair had one relevant feature where the target object differed from the non-target object. There were 2 irrelevant features per pair, which were identical in both objects. For the example trial in the top right corner, the stripes of the target object would be a relevant feature, whereas the round shape would be an irrelevant feature. In a lab setting, the gesture and the responder sat on the other side of the table with 2 monitors. A curtain was closed in between them to prevent exchange of external social cues. Both participants looked at the same screen, except that the gesture could see the red arrow. When the arrow appeared, the gesture used their hands to describe a target object. Then they pressed the button to signal that they were done. Then the responder made a guess on the target and rang a bell to signal that they were done. There were a few rules of the game. The participants were not allowed to talk, use lip movements, or point to the screen. They were asked to only describe the target object. Also, they were encouraged to do this as quickly as possible by using as few gestures as possible. For data analysis, 2 independent coders watched the gestures videos and coded per trial whether each feature was gesture or not. They showed high inter-rater reliability. So, are people more likely to gesture a feature when it's relevant to disambiguate the target from the non-target? For example, in this object pair, are people more likely to gesture the pattern instead of shape or size? The answer is yes. A nested model comparison of logistic regressions showed that the relevance of the feature predicted whether people gesture the feature or not. In this graph, we have feature types on the x-axis and the percentage of the trials where the feature was gestured on the y-axis. Each feature was gestured more when it was relevant in distinguishing the target, as shown as a big gap between the blue and red lines. There was no significant interaction between the feature type and the relevance of feature, but overall size was gestured less often than shape or pattern. Our responder showed high accuracy guessing the correct object as a target on almost all trials. As a conclusion, similar to speech, people tailored their silent gestures for their communication partner by highlighting the relevant information rather than exhaustively gesturing all information that was available. With this paradigm, we hope to conduct the developmental version of the study, asking whether children also tailor their silent gestures by performing theory of mind skills, and if so, how would it be compared to their performance with speech? Building on this simple task will allow for future developmental comparisons. Thanks to our amazing team at UC San Diego Mind and Development Lab, and I look forward to meeting you all during my Q&A session and also on Zoom. Thanks for listening. See you soon.